I remember taking one look at this game during its pre-alpha phases and giving it a hard pass. At the time, it just looked to me like some kind of Rust clone with a Conan skin. And given that 1, I'm not a fan of PvP games, and 2, I am not a fan of survival games either, 3, I'm not a fan of the Conan universe, and the idea of a PvP survival game where someone can come along and blow up all the shit you spent so long working hard on, set in a fantasy world that I really couldn't give two shits about, just seemed truly atrocious to me. But recently, I've been looking for a new game to stream aside from PUBG, which I'm getting sick of. And during that search, I saw that Conan Exiles had officially hit its full release. So I went and looked at the game's Steam page, and the game I saw there was an entirely different beast from the game I saw in early access. That, combined with the recent reviews on Steam showing as mostly positive with mixed overall, led me to believe that somewhere along the line, this game must have gone through some kind of massive overhaul. And damn it, that Steam page made the game look really fucking good. And so I was convinced to get a survival game for the first time ever. And I'll be damned, because you know what? Conan Exiles did not disappoint me. One of my favorite things I noticed right away is the custom difficulty mode and single player co-op options, which together allow you to tailor your own custom gameplay experience to what you like, allowing you to enable or disable or just alter the values of certain mechanics you might not like or really enjoy. If you don't want to play online with random trolls who will blow up all your buildings on a moment's notice, just play single player co-op and invite your friends instead. Or like me, if you just don't like survival games, you can sort of just tone down the survival mechanics and play it like an adventure RPG instead. And if there's an element of the game that isn't covered by the custom difficulty, I guarantee you someone's done something about it in the Steam workshop. Another thing I love about Conan Exiles is its full-on mod support. And this isn't some kind of half-assed workshop integration either. This is full-on, like Skyrim levels of mod support. You'll find things ranging from simple gameplay tweaks to full custom armor and weapon sets. There's even the ability for modders to create their own custom maps and worlds to explore. Though unfortunately, due to the size of the modding community at the moment, the latter two types of mods are a bit more uncommon to find. Though I'm sure given enough time, even the small modding community will come up with more unique weapons and armors and some new maps even. Or perhaps address one of my personal complaints of the UI being a bit too large and covering too much of the screen. And then anything that still isn't covered by the customizable difficulty or the mods can be changed if you want with the easy to use admin panel in single player or co-op, as long as you have the self-control to not go crazy with it. For me, those problems came in the form of how necessary the slaving system is for progression. To be clear, I'm not entirely unhappy that this game has slavery. I mean, it is after all a common theme in the Conan universe, and it isn't done terribly in this game, but since I have a general distaste for slavery, as I'm sure most Americans do, it's just a bit bothersome how central it is to getting the best weapons and gear in the game. While like I said, you can circumvent it with the admin console by spawning your own thralls, without having to go out to some enemy base and start kidnapping slaves, I would have preferred if they maybe added one or two new feats that allowed you to do the same things that high-level thralls allow you to do, and learn the crafting patterns yourself for the better weapons and armor and whatnot. Or if maybe they'd made one or two more settlements friendly to the player, and allowed us to recruit or hire thralls willingly from these cities, without necessarily removing the slavery mechanic entirely. And not to mention a plethora of bugs I've encountered during my game, some of which may have had a possibility to break my game if it wasn't for the admin console, allowing me to easily restore anything I lost to a bug. And besides, with how buggy AAA games like Skyrim can be, you can't really fault a game too much for its bugs when it's done by a company smaller than Bethesda in a game that's similar in scope, which this game is, easily. But not only is this game just as big, if not maybe even a little bit bigger than Skyrim's map, but it's got to be at least 10 times as varied, with tons of different biomes, each one being beautifully designed and littered with interesting landmarks and dungeons to explore, with some creative puzzles and oftentimes even mini stories to accompany them, as well as a fantastic soundtrack to supplement the whole experience. The simple act of just picking a direction and exploring is just as fun in Conan Exiles as it is in Skyrim, if not even more fun thanks to additional mechanics they've added to this game, such as the climbing mechanics, which is kind of taking a page from Breath of the Wild's playbook in that regard, allowing you to climb straight up any surface provided you have enough stamina to do so, or hang from overhead surfaces in an amusing monkey bar animation. In addition, they they've also completely overhauled the combat system since its alpha, introducing a combat system that feels honestly a lot more like Dark Souls than Skyrim, with weighty hitbox-based movesets for each weapon, careful stamina management for attacking and avoiding enemy attacks, combos for light and heavy attacks, and very specific movesets for each enemy which can punish you if you don't read them correctly, and reward you if you learn them well. Although there are a couple bosses here and there, especially out in the open world, that still seem to be designed with the old combat mechanics in mind, with some spammy, almost instantaneous attacks that are incredibly difficult to read, and some of the worst camera angles you could possibly imagine while locked onto them. But while there are mods that lower the health of these types of monsters, making them a lot more bearable to encounter, the core problems with these fights are still present, and they can sometimes be a hassle to fight unless you have friends to help you. And they've done a nice job of making the crafting and professions relatively easy to learn and immensely satisfying to progress in, with the attributes and feats that you unlock points in every time you level up. I can't tell you the immense satisfaction I felt when I built my first iron tool after unlocking the feat to do so. And similarly satisfying and easy to use is the base building mechanics, which are also central to the gameplay. While these mechanics are intended to be survival mechanisms, or for defense against other players if you play online, there's nothing really stopping you from going crazy with your builds. Like with my hideous thatched roof sandstone mansion, or some actually cool and creative inventions, whatever your imagination can think of. Unless of course you want to dig into the side of a mountain and build your own evil lair in the hollowed out mountain, but unfortunately this game doesn't let you dig into its pre-built terrain, which I suppose it's understandable since it is a handcrafted world and not just some randomly generated mess. But I still would have liked the ability to do so even if there was nothing to be found there like any kind of hidden caves, just to add a little bit of build creativity. And next, siege weapons are a really fun and satisfying addition, though unfortunately I might have had some kind of error with my server settings, and I couldn't get my little dummy huts that I've put up to collapse from the trebuchet. So in order to get proper footage of this, I would have had to progress all the way to the point where I get the trebuchet in an online multiplayer session, and use it to raise some poor unsuspecting player's home to the ground, which fuck that, so I didn't get a whole lot of opportunities to use the trebuchet, but damn it, this tool is visually and audio-mically, that's a word now, satisfying to use, and just cool to have for the potential it has for gameplay experiences. But it would have been so much cooler if NPC buildings were destructible, and we had a few more large NPC cities up in the north end of the endgame region, just to sort of give PvE players a reason to use these siege weapons. And it could have been even cooler if on top of that they let you use multiple thralls to follow you at the same time, since at the moment you can only have one thrall following you at a time. And this would also be a much welcome change for solo players, as a lot of the world bosses are geared towards multiple players. So being able to form some kind of like party of thralls to accompany you would easily solve that problem without having to download mods to lower their health. And of course this game has some fantastic customization, though it's kind of to be expected from games of this genre which typically have good customization. Even going as far as letting you customize your dick size, which dicks are funny, so that's pretty great. And then there's a system of armor dyeing which lets you change the color of your armor as you please, and not just out of monotone colors for each piece of gear, but also letting you customize primary, secondary, tertiary, and even quaternary colors for your gear. Though I do find it a little bothersome that there's no way to sort of transmogrify your gear to look like another piece. So if there's something you like the stats on but don't like the look of, you're kinda stuck with that. And then if you want to hide your helmet, well, that's tough luck. Fortunately, most of the high-end armors do look pretty cool on their own, and there are mods in the workshop that add hidden versions of the high-end armors. So in the end, I can't really complain too much, but it would be nice and easier if they added some kind of hide helmet option. There's also regrettably no mounts in the game, so getting around the place before you find the fast travel blueprint can take quite a long time. And even after you do get that, it's not like the fast travel points are scattered everywhere throughout the map. So traveling anywhere that doesn't have a fast travel point can still take a really long time. So it'd be really nice if they let us tame horses or some other creatures. However, I did hear a specific rumor that mounts are in their plans for future content, which should come as a free update, which is another great thing about this game. All the updates for it are absolutely free and there's no paid DLC. And for a game this big that's priced at $40 and has no microtransactions, that's a goddamn amazing business model. But there is a little bit of a catch. Now, as long as you only plan on playing single player co-op or joining someone else's online session, you're probably going to be perfectly fine. But if you want to host your own server so that you can play the MMO style and be able to customize the settings of the server, then this game is going to become an incredibly expensive habit for you. Maintaining the largest available server for any great length of time can cost thousands of dollars. And yeah, you heard me right. I did say thousands of dollars. And you know what? For me, I just don't think it's worth it. Plus, I'd honestly rather just play single player co-op and invite my friends, and that way I don't have to spend an extra dime beyond the asking price of the stock game. But I do think it would have been nice if they allowed some kind of like free server option and then had the paid ones be premium servers. With just like 5-player limitations on the free servers, and if you want any more than that you have to pay, that would have made a lot more sense to me. And allowed people to have their own custom servers and still play like a single player co-op experience, but with random people instead. But this is the way it is, and it allows the developers the extra income to be able to make free DLC. So I can't really fault it too much, especially since it doesn't affect me at all. It's just, you know, kind of shocking to see a $6,000 price tag like that. It's a lot of fucking money. So coming to the final score for Conan Exiles, as a person who has never had any interest in survival games and never gave a shit about the Conan universe, this game still earns an incredible 9 out of 10. And if you're a fan of literally any survival game or a fan of Elder Scrolls games like Skyrim, then this is one of the easiest recommendations I can give. If you're not though, then I can totally understand if you wouldn't enjoy this game. But for my part, I feel like it offers everything Skyrim does and more. It just makes me a bit sad that this will probably never reach the same levels of popularity as games like Skyrim, mainly because of its failings during alpha. While the bugs and such do leave a bit of an unpolished feel, it's still one of the better games I've played in recent time, and it's going to continue to last a very long time and continue to evolve and grow through free updates. And hell, a lot of the ideas I've had in this video might even become part of the game through one of these updates. But anyways, that's the end of this video. As usual, feel free to press buttons at and around the video, below it, above it, whether YouTube, Twitch, whatever, just press some buttons, it's fun. And if you want to throw some money at me to help the channel grow and expand and continue to make more content, feel free to support me on Patreon as well. And also, one last thing this time around, I'm kind of messing with a new format for these reviews. And by new format, I mean actually having less format to these videos. Just kind of saying pros, cons, and things I would like added at will as they become relevant, rather than separating the video into 3 parts and disjoining my thoughts. And not to mention my favorite part is that it makes it easier to record and edit these videos, so that I'm not just making the process more complicated than it has to be. But why am I mentioning this? Well, I want your guys' feedback on this new format, quote unquote. Please go ahead and leave a comment down below, or on the side, I guess, if it's on Twitch. I don't know if they have comments there. Let me know what you think of the new format. If you want me to go back to doing the 3 parts, good, bad, what you would change. Or if you like it and want me to continue moving forward with this more loosey-goosey format. Either way, till next time, I'll see you guys later.